Hi everyone, it's Weather for Weather Geeks time. It's the Valley's most in-depth weather video. We're going to take a long look at the forecast for the next several days, and including the longer range. We've got more snow coming our way Friday morning. Wanted to start this evening with kind of a review of what happened today, and everything pretty much went according to plan today. I like showing these time-lapse videos on snow days because you can see this starts at 3 a.m. Everything was clear along 422 in Niles, and then boom, here comes the snow. And once it got going, it came down hard. Snowfall rates of an inch or two an hour around daybreak led to very quick accumulations and very, very tricky travel across the region this morning. And again, right on schedule, the snow did wind down as we headed into the midday hours today. All right, as far as the snow depth across the region goes, as expected, the highest amounts were kind of south and east of Youngstown overall. North and west, some lower totals. But everyone got enough to shovel and plow, that is for sure today. And some of the snowfall totals today were pretty impressive locally, including at the airport 5.9 inches worth of snow, our biggest one-day total in a calendar day for the entire season at the airport, putting our month-to-date total at 12.8. Notice last year, it was 59 on this date last year, so quite a contrast from last year to this year. Wanted to check in on our seasonal snow totals. We're up pretty close to 56 inches now at the Youngstown Warren Airport. That puts us about 17 inches above average through today's date, and about 14 inches more than we had at this same time last year. So turning out to be a pretty snowy season, although I don't think we'll add a ton to this in the next couple of weeks. A little accumulation coming Friday morning, which we'll talk about in just a second, but I don't see any big snow events on the horizon once we are, now that we are done with this morning's action. All right, just a sampling of totals from across the region. These were called into the National Weather Service by trained spotters and personnel who make these calls into the Weather Service. 6 inches east Liverpool, 5 inches Lisbon, 3 inches in Alliance, about 5 in Austintown. I had about 4.75 to 5 at my house in Boardman today, and that was pretty common along the 224 corridor, about 5 inches in the heart of Mahoning County. All right, this loop takes us back to about 5 till 8 this morning. Notice still some heavy bands of snow at about 9 o'clock this morning, particularly down into parts of the Route 30 corridor. It was really thumping around Lisbon at 9:15 this morning. The snow did taper off pretty quickly, though, even a little sooner than I thought last night. So already by 10:15, 10:30, this was letting up. And it, pretty much was just flurries and inconsequential snow then for the rest of the midday hours today. We're left with a couple of stray flurries out there this evening. No big deal from here on out. All right, let's start talking about the future. I think we're kind of in between systems tomorrow with a lot of clouds, maybe a couple of flurries, especially in the morning hours. Then as we go towards tomorrow night and Friday, now, this thing with Friday morning, the timing is actually going to be pretty similar to this morning, in that this is going to come in roughly around 5 a.m. This is a much different scenario, though. We don't have a low-pressure system approaching from the south and dragging in a deep plume of moisture. This is pretty much a warm front that will be draped across northern Ohio Friday morning. Pretty strong southerly push of air south of this front is going to really try to kick the front north as we head deeper into the morning on Friday. So I think it is going to snow for a handful of hours, and then it'll probably wind down and push north by about midday, up closer to I-90, I suspect, by the time we head into lunchtime. Now, could there still be some snow, the kind of the bottom edge of this? Could it still be as far south as maybe Cortland to maybe Sharon to maybe Mercer? Yeah, I think that's possible. But for the vast majority of the viewing area, I think we're pretty much done with the snow by midday on Friday. Now, this front's going to kind of stall over the weekend. I'll talk a little bit more about the weekend coming up in just a second. All right, this will be a big snow event for places like Chicago and the I-94 corridor and southern parts of Michigan, Detroit to Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, and even as far south as Fort Wayne and Toledo, maybe Cleveland, maybe Sandusky. This will be a handful of inches. But there's a pretty good gradient here. You go from not much to 6 to 12 inches over a pretty short distance here. For us, I think this will be enough to be a nuisance and cause a slick morning commute on Friday, but it's not going to be comparable to this morning in terms of the actual accumulation. Impacts can still be high, though. An inch to 2 or 3 coming at 6 or 7 in the morning on a weekday, that's not real good news. And this will be the same kind of snow that we had this morning overall. It's going to be pretty fluffy and dry. fairly easy to shovel, but also can make things really, really slick out there for Friday morning. So I have our impacts pretty high, again, considering that the amounts will be fairly modest overall. So that's our next big ticket item. It's Friday morning, 1 to 3 inches of snow in a lot of places, and you know, could make for a tricky morning commute on Friday. All right, let's talk about the weekend a little bit. Kind of a tough forecast as we head into the weekend because that front's going to stall, and timing of precipitation, type of precipitation, things that are kind of up in the air here. This is the GFS model Saturday evening, I should say. Whoops. Let's go back here to Saturday evening. And the GFS kind of has this boundary nearby, and some warm air here, some colder air here. Might be a little bit of rain or a rain-snow mix before the end of the day on Saturday. Overall, I don't think Saturday is a bad day. You know, I think we get up into the mid-30s above freezing on Saturday. Then on Sunday, this whole thing's going to try to shift east, and again, precipitation type is kind of a tough call. There could be some snow or a mix. It could go back and forth. Maybe some sleet, outside chance of freezing rain. You know, this is nothing that heavy, I don't think. I don't think this is, you know, any sort of real heavy precipitation, but it's something that we'll have to keep an eye on because we could see kind of a potpourri of precipitation types over the weekend. And then this pushes east, nice and clean frontal passage finally on Monday, and that will allow some colder air but some drier air to come in early on next week. Longer range look here. You know, I've been talking about the milder pattern. I still think that's on track. This is this upcoming weekend here with a fresh batch of colder air coming in for early next week. But notice it's just kind of a glancing blow. The cold anomalies are really centered way up in Canada, so it's just kind of back to freezing for highs on Monday. I think we'll get back into the 40s on Tuesday. And overall, notice the oranges and reds here kind of dominating the eastern part of the country around Valentine's Day. Maybe a cool down coming then for next weekend. This is the 16th and 17th. But after that, you know, overall, it's warmer than average for a lot of the time, I think, as we go deeper into February. So for those of you who are sick of the cold weather and the snow, and it's easy to be like that on a day like today, I do think that winter's going to let off the gas here as we go over the next couple of weeks. Thanks for watching tonight's Weather for Weather Geeks. I'll see you tonight on 21 News at 11 with a full update. I'll have some fresh model data in and be doing an update on the Friday morning situation. We'll see if anything changes on this evening's model runs. And more Weather for Weather Geeks coming your way on Thursday evening.